This video is entitled Bohr Models Explained. In this video, you're going to learn about the structure of atoms and their electron configurations as constructed in a Bohr model. We're going to start out with hydrogen. First, we're going to place an H there for the symbol hydrogen and write out hydrogen. And we need to make a model of hydrogen. To do that, we need to look up on the periodic table that hydrogen has one proton and a mass number of 1, so that means it has one proton and 0 neutrons. Well, if it has one positively charged proton, then unless it's an ion, it'll have one electron as well. And we're going to place the electron right there on this first ring. Now this first ring represents the first energy level. See, electrons can only inhabit certain energy levels. They can only have a certain amount of energy that's allowable by the atom. Now the energy levels contain different shells. And in this diagram, you see different electron clouds. There are 2 electrons in each electron cloud. They have an upspin and a downspin, and that allows them to exist in the same cloud. Now this center cloud here, the spherical yellow cloud, represents the 1s shell, and the first energy level only has a single spherical s shell. The second energy level also has a spherical shell represented by that blue circle or blue sphere around the atom, around the nucleus, but the second energy level also has 3 of these p-shaped shells. Looks sort of like the infinity sign up and down there. But if you can imagine it, there's one shell in the y direction, one p shell in the x direction. In the z direction going this way, there's a third shell. So that's all we're going to look at today, is just the first and second energy levels. Again, the first energy level has one s shell. That gives it a maximum of 2 electrons that can exist in that first energy level. The second energy level, as we're going to see, has an s shell and 3 p shells, so that's a total of 4 shells in the second energy level. With 4 shells, each having 2 electrons, it'll have a maximum of 8 energy levels, so we'll see that in a moment. So let's move on to that. Let's look at the element lithium. Lithium is number 3, right? Li. And lithium. It's the third one on the periodic table. So we take a look at that. It's got an atomic number 3, so that means there are 3 protons, and its mass number is 6.941. So that rounds to 7. It has a mass number of 7. So that means there are 3 protons and 4 neutrons. We've got the nucleus. Since there are 3 positively charged protons, it'll have 3 electrons. So this is what it looks like. There's a maximum of 2 electrons in that first energy level, and we're going to put the third up here. Now I am pairing those electrons together to show how they fit into those s shells, in that first s shell. And this first electron is going to exist in the s shell of the second energy level. Let's move it way up, and we're going to look at the next element down, and that's sodium. So I'm going to flip this paper to the back side to element number 11. It's Na, sodium. A great way to remember that one is if anyone asks you if you want some salt or some sodium on your food, being a health conscious person, you might say, nah. Gotta love it. So, sodium has 11 protons and a mass number of 23. So its primary isotope would be a 12 neutron nucleus. There we go. So there's 11 positive protons, and we need 11 negative electrons. So our first energy level has 1, 2 electrons. Our second energy level is going to have, let's see, we need to get up to 11. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, remember how I was saying that there is an s shell in that second energy level, but also 3 p shells. So I'm going to use the side over here, the bottom, and the left side over here. Think like north, east, south, west to occupy the space with electrons, and they're going to pair up. But as they pair up, as you add electrons here, once you covered the first S shell, they're going to fill first with those 2 electrons. Then the 5th electron is going to go there, total of 5 so far. The 6th is going to go down here, and the 7th up here. And then, as we add more, they pair up in those p shells. Alright, so that's a total of 10 electrons. And since we're looking for 11 electrons to match up with the 11 protons, the last electron is going to go in the 3s shell, or the S shell in the 3rd energy level. And that's what sodium's going to look like. So if you want to take a little note, we'll move back to lithium. Just want to take a little note here. Note to self, the 2nd energy level has a maximum of 8 electrons. 8 electrons. There we go. And that's the only thing you'll need to remember for this. As the atoms get larger than 18, so after argon, and then number 19 and 20, potassium and calcium, following those elements, the rules get a little funky. But as for these smaller elements, this will do. All right, thank you very much for listening.